Before hosting the National Archives, this building was a hospital. The first document that mentions this hospital goes back to 1372, and that date makes this hospital as one of the oldest and longest-serving hospitals in Europe. At that time, it was called St. Francis Hospital, and it was run by Franciscan tertiaries. However, in the beginning of the 15th century, the Università, the government of Malta at that time, decided to take over the administration of this hospital. And in fact, a few years later, we start seeing the change in name. And from there on, we start referring to this hospital as Santo Spirito Hospital. At that time, the hospital had three main functions. The first function, the traditional function, that of taking care of the sick and the wounded. The second function, taking care and giving shelter to the old and poor people. And finally, the function that remained synonymous with this hospital was the care of abandoned children and babies. These babies were left at the ruota degli esposti, which was known at that time. Basically, it was a wheeled mechanism which had a cylinder-like compartment inside. Once rotated, a wooden cot was opened, and the babies were left over here by their parents. The ruota would be then closed by rotating it again, and at that point, the baby would find itself on the inside of the hospital. A bell would ring on the inside to notify the nurses and those responsible for the hospital that yet another baby was deposited over there. Another interesting aspect of this hospital, Santo Spirito, is this pharmacy museum. But also interesting is the fact that already in 1580, Santo Spirito Hospital had its own resident aromatorio speziale. He was a certain Antonio Bisci. Over here you can see several items used at the time for the dispensing of medicines, but also a unique set of weights. You can still smell certain chemicals, herbs and spices such as the eucalyptus that are stored in the original jars and which were used during past times for the mixing of medicines for patients.